Hello and welcome to the nation's flagship political show. I'm Kaido Kikilu here in Lagos. We begin with our countdown. It is now 4 days to Labour's planned indefinite nationwide strike and protests, which it says will shut down the nation. But that's if government, according to its words, fails to address what the NLC and TUC have described as a suffering and other socio-economic hardships occasioned by the removal of subsidy on premium motor spirit, also known as petrol. Well, it looked like the federal government was going to hold an emergency meeting with the NLC and the TUC today to perhaps negotiate a way out of the strike. But that meeting, as far as we know, failed to hold with the Minister of Labour and other federal government representatives, of course. And there's been no word from the Ministry of Labour nor organised labour on why that meeting didn't hold or whether or not an agreement has been reached. So 4 days to go. We keep our eyes on that. And of course, the president's awaited return to the country after the United Nations General Assembly. It's now been confirmed that the president is in Europe. I spoke with the former governor, in fact, the current governor of Kaduna State, I should say, a former senator who was on his entourage, and that's Obasani, to New York. And he says that the president is fine as he's currently making economic deals for Nigeria. So that's it with the president. But back home, it's almost like clockwork, really. Another set of election tribunal judgments were delivered today, and the People's Democratic Party carried the day. First, let's go to Delta State, where the petition of former Deputy Senate President and the APC governorship candidate, Senator Ovio Mwagege, against the election of Mr. Sheriff Oborowori was dismissed. The three-member panel, headed by Justice C.H. Aochogu, held that the petition contained unsubstantiated allegations, noting that it was devoid of merit and speculative. So that's how INEC called that election. Well, Senator Mwagege, who came second in the March 18th election, challenged the declaration of Mr. Oborowori as winner of the election by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The tribunal also struck out the petitions of the SDP. So those are the grounds on which the petition, particularly of the APC, was struck out, and that's the election result from the March 18th governorship election. Well, let's take a listen to some of the lawyers in that case and to give a sense of what played out and the next line of action. We'll take a listen.
We're all quite pleased that the judgment came out the way it did. It primarily supports our contention, our consistent contention. One, that the certificates that the governor presented, they were not forged. And that has been resoundingly affirmed by the tribunal. And second, that there was absolutely nothing like corrupt practice as far as the elections were concerned. The results were genuine, they were correct, and they actually confirmed that the governor won the election. So we're quite pleased about that. The issues in regard to certificate forgery, if it has been decided in a case that went as far as the Supreme Court, then we should actually look for something else to do. It does not have to be re-litigated.
When there are two sides of a case, so definitely either side will win. And thank God it's not the final court, like I did in the case. But, once a party is displeased with the judgment of the court, it is within your constitutional right, to test that judgment. We put in our best, but in the wisdom of the tribunal, they have given judgment the way it went. So we can't question them, but we have the right, to move forward, from this level. He indicated that the petitioner, we are not pleased with the judgment, but we can't say more than that. Their lordships have tried their best. the way the law appears to them, they've delivered the judgment. So it's not within my right to condemn them. But I can also say categorically that my clients, who are the petitioner, will test the judgment at the appropriate court.
Well, let's tell you that the governorship candidate of the APC in Delta State, Senator Ovio Mwagige, is not taking the judgment of the state tribunal, and he's directed his legal team to immediately proceed with an appeal. Well, he says the tribunal failed to reckon with the fundamental flaws in the March 18th governorship election that mortally rendered the declaration of the PDP as a winner untenable. So that's it with that. Also today, 2 states away in Akwa Ibom, the governorship elections petition tribunal upheld the election of Pastor Omoeno of the PDP as a validly elected governor of Akwa Ibom State, dismissing the suit which was instituted by Senator Basi Akpan and his party, the Young Progressives Party, YPP, which challenged the election of the Akwa Ibom State governor. So it was an election, a judgment that actually took over 2 hours to deliver, about 2.5 hours, and that's the decision of the tribunal. Those are some of the grounds on which the petition was dismissed by the court. First, on the issue of the forged WAEC certificates, the tribunal ruled that it did not present a forged certificate, and that also the APC and APAN lacked the locus standi to challenge how PDP conducted its primaries. That's for the APC petition right there. Well, let's bring you more political updates making the rounds. Here's your political roundup.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, is reiterating his commitment to provide essential services that will touch the lives of residents of the nation's capital. Mr. Wike was speaking during the swearing-in of Mr. Ibrahim Aminu as the Mandate Secretary for Social Development for the FCT. The minister charges the new appointee to be accountable and ensure that he remains connected to the people as a worthy ambassador of the present administration's policy of renewed hope.
Nigerians have lost hope. And that's why the agenda renewed hope. We're going to bring back that lost hope to make Nigeria believe that things can still work.
Ahead of the Imo State off-cycle governorship election in November, youths and supporters of the Labour Party in Imo State have staged a peaceful protest at the premises of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, tasking the commission to ensure it conducts a credible, free and fair governorship polls in the state. The protesters want INEC to ensure that their votes count by using the BVAS machine. They also want the resident electoral commissioner in the state to be replaced owing to allegations of compromise. Responding to the protesters, the Commission's head of Voter Education and Publicity Department, Mrs. Emanuela Okpara, assures that INEC remains an impartial umpire and would resist any attempt to compromise standards during the election.
There are a lot of allegations against some officers in INEC, Imo State. We are begging, for the sake of transparency, to show that INEC is unbiased, please redeploy the resident electoral commissioner of INEC Imo State.
And in Abia State, a youth under the aegis of Abia Interest Group is calling on the state governor, Mr. Alex Oti, to ensure the dividend of democracy reaches the people at the grassroots level. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the group leader, Mr. Henry Lawson, wants the governor to set aside a special fund for agricultural development. They are also asking Governor Oti's administration to provide infrastructure, which is expected to permanently address the issue of unemployment by youths in the state.
Well, yesterday we promised to bring you the other side of the Kaduna Governorship Tribunal judgment, which dismissed the PDP's petition against Governor Obasanjo's election for lacking in merit on the ground that the pre-hearing notice was filed out of time and therefore deemed to be abandoned by the petitioners. But then the other part of that judgment, which has gotten a lot of people talking, a big debate, really. The tribunal noted that if the petition had not been dismissed for lacking in merit, then he would have ordered for a supplementary election in 22 polling units within 90 days. And it was a split decision 2-1. Well, tonight, we speak with the petitioner himself. We have joining us virtually from Kaduna State, Honorable Isa Ashiru, who is a PDP governorship candidate for Kaduna State. Well, thank you for joining us on Politics Today, Honorable.
Good evening, Kayode. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Man, there's been a lot of, debate back and forth, different narratives. So let's try to simplify it tonight. What are you preparing for now? Are you preparing for an appeal of yesterday's judgment or a supplementary election?
Well, thank you very much. Let me correct what you reported yesterday. The program you had with the governor of the state that said his election was upheld. It is not true. The truth of the matter is that the election was annulled. And they directed INEC, the tribunal directed INEC to conduct election, like you have correctly said it now, within 90 days. Unfortunately, he reported that his election was upheld. We'll see between the next 2 or 3 weeks, allowed, whether he will go on appeal or not. Whosoever said his election was upheld, I don't think there is any need for him to go for appeal. But for sure, I want to assure you that we are going on appeal. I have met with my team, the legal team, and we have taken that decision in consultation with my party and senior stakeholders.
Let's break this down. What are you appealing? Are you appealing what you describe as your victory, or what exactly?
Well, the victory, honestly, what we expected was that the tribunal will outrightly give us judgment based on available facts that we tendered. The truth of the matter is that we won that election hands down, but the forces that did what they did to rob us of the victory. But we are grateful to God Almighty. Yesterday, the court confirmed that Obasani was not the rightful owner of that seat. That's why they directed INEC to withdraw his certificate and conduct a run so that the true elected governor will be announced after the rerun election. But for sure, with what we have seen and the documents available to us, we will definitely appeal for the right thing to be done. That is declaring Right Honorable Isa Mohammed Ashiru the duly elected governor of the state by the special grace of God.
Right. So I want us to understand this properly, which is why we have you on the show to provide more clarity. And I imagine that your lawyers have also given you advice. So let's break this down. First, did the courts strike out your petition for lacking in merit on the ground that the pre-hearing notice was filed out of time?
Well, that is in the pre-hearing notice. They applied that we have not filed on time. It is not true. We have not filed our petition out of time. That has been confirmed yesterday by the tribunal, that we filed on time. The issue of remitter that came late, it's not our fault. That one has been confirmed by the tribunal. The other issue is that of the issue of this, I think, presentation of timing in terms of the commencement of the pre-hearing. Unfortunately for them, there was a judgment of the Supreme Court that said where you allow the commencement of the proceeding to start, especially one that has started for 3 days, then you bring up another matter. The court says you have slept over your appeal. And that is the position of the law. As far as I'm concerned, the Supreme Court judgment has taken that decision and is binding. Last August on the 23rd, another judgment was passed in the Court of Appeal by Justice Aibu on the same matter. So they are just trying to knock off our case on technicalities. I want to assure you that going to a Court of Appeal will get this sorted out. And by the special grace of God, once this one is sorted out and the right thing is done on the document we presented, we'll get ourselves announced as the duly elected governor of Kaduna State. Well,
Honorable Ashiru, the essence of this conversation really is to clear things out. I understand that sometimes judgments can be, well, to a large extent confusing until the lawyers, of course, speak to it and they break it down. And what lawyers have said is that, yes, there is a technicality, which you admit, but overall, the court's judgment, moving on from here, does not say explicitly that a supplementary election should be conducted. It's a case of if it were not struck out on the basis which you talked about, then the court would have ordered a supplementary election. So the court did not explicitly order a supplementary election. Is that correct?
They did. They did, Coyote. The truth
so
of the
why
matter
are you appealing then?
It's a three-man panel that sat on that tribunal, and it was 2 against 1. 2 justices of the court of the tribunal directed that supplementary election be conducted, so that the rightful candidate will be announced after the supplementary election. It is only one of them that was in their favor. So for anybody to come and say anything different is just saying his mind. Mark you, the details of the judgment will be out by tomorrow, God willing. And will avail, it is a public document. Anybody that wants it can get it and get this thrashed out. It was just a real politicking that took place yesterday, media hype that went saying a different thing from what the judgment was said.
I'll read a portion of your statement, which you put out after that judgment. It's the second to the last paragraph, where you said, "I want to again thank the people of the state while urging them all to remain law-abiding while we appeal or pursue the appeal process." Those were your words. So why are you appealing a judgment which you say favors you?
Because it's not satisfactory to what the judgment that was passed was not what the generality of the people of Kaduna State wanted to hear. So there were apprehensions, so we had to go around and calm them to make sure that peace reigns. We are peace-loving people. We are indigents of the state. We have to make sure that the state is in peace. Kaduna, as you are aware, is a volatile state. We don't want anything that will disrupt the current peace in the state. So urging our people to remain calm is something that every right-thinking person, every leader will encourage. That is why I made that statement.
So what did the people of Kaduna State want then? What pronouncement did they want from yesterday's judgment that didn't come out?
The true reflection of what they voted. That is, they voted PDP as the into office, but the powers that be did what they did to snatch our mandate. So all they want is for the judiciary to do justice to our case in making sure that the rightful owner is handed over certificate of return to be sworn in as the executive governor of Kaduna State.
So you agree then that the tribunal did not give a green light on the supplementary election, which is why you're proceeding to appeal to get that?
No, that was not what I said. I am confirming to you that the 2 justices directed INEC out of the 3 to conduct rerun election in 4 local government areas, so that the rightful candidate will be sworn in after the election. But for sure, they have directed that INEC should conduct the run in 4 local government areas of our state.
So are you then appealing that? That's what I'm trying to get, Honorable, and help me out, help Nigerians out here so we can leave this conversation with clarity. So are you then appealing that particular judgment, which you say is what the court gave, that a supplementary election should be conducted? I don't know. I've never seen a case where someone who the judgment favors then goes on to appeal that judgment.
You know, there are two judges.
Oh dear, we seem to have lost connection momentarily, but we'll get Honorable Ashiru back to provide more clarity, really, to this issue so we can know what his position is, what the move is. But saying from his statement, okay, I understand you're back, Honorable Ashiru. Please, you can land on the point you were making.
Come again?
I said, you can land on the point you were making. I was asking that I've never seen a case, correct me if I'm wrong, if someone who got a favorable judgment, or when someone who gets a favorable judgment then goes on appeal. So why are you going on appeal if you say the judgment favors you?
The issue is I have not gotten what I want. I have not gotten what our people want. Since we have opportunity to go on appeal, there is nothing wrong in going for appeal. We have asked for declaration as the rightful candidate that scored the highest number of votes in the February election. That was not what we got. There is something wrong in appealing to get what we want, since we have that opportunity.
So essentially, you don't even want a supplementary election. You want to be declared winner.
Definitely. That's why I'm going on appeal. They have the right to decide on what they think is right as far as the tribunal is concerned. And I cannot challenge it because I'm a law-abiding citizen.
You also confirmed to me that on the part of the timing some part of the petition, perhaps the pre-conference hearing, that the court actually held onto that in striking out the case. Court said that, well, regarding that, it wasn't filed according to time. You confirmed that to me earlier.
When you say the court, you mean the tribunal. It is the tribunal, yes. It is one out of it is not the whole of the judges that passed that verdict. You know, there are 3.
Please go ahead, Honorable. We lost you for a moment there.
Can you hear me, Kayode?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Please go ahead.
I want to assure you that what they did, we are not satisfied with their judgment. That's why we are going on appeal. And like I told you, since we have that olive branch, we will definitely go for appeal to make sure that the right thing is done for the benefit of our people.
Right, so let's further simplify.
It's not about action. The issue is about the good people of Kaduna State. Let me make that categorical statement.
All right, so let's break this down further because we try to simplify issues so everybody can be carried along. I know you've gotten advice from your lawyers. You've been a lawmaker yourself, so this is nothing strange to you, I imagine. So tell us your perspective from the position of the judgment yesterday. Who do you think is the governor of Kaduna today, according to the law?
Come again?
Who would you say is the governor of Kaduna State from your interpretation of yesterday's tribunal judgment?
For me, we don't have that seat is vacant, taking into consideration the fact that the court has directed for the withdrawal of the certificate of the governor.
Well, as a lawmaker yourself, Honorable, I wonder...
Unless, of course, if he's going on appeal.
Well, you said you were going on appeal, but you know that the law abhors a vacuum. So there should be nothing like a vacuum in that case. So on what basis would you then say that there is no governor in Kaduna State? Because the judgment did not say that he is not governor, did it?
Well, the truth of the matter, he has been sworn in as governor. the tribunal has directed that his certificate be withdrawn. If
Well, looks like the bandwidth is a bit challenging on this one. But the point is to get to the heart of this matter. So the people of Kaduna State are clear on what exactly this is. Now, lawyers have given, some sort of explanation to this, that yes, the court is enabled to give some sort of guidance, sort of its merit of some other grounds that were given. So is this what is playing out here? We'll try to reconnect establish connection rather with Honorable Isa Ashiru, who is a PDP governorship candidate in that election in Kaduna State. But we'll go on a break now. And when we return, we'll also be turning our attention to what is playing out in the All Progressives Congress, APC. The president has made a lot of appointments, but there's an organ within the party in one of the states which is saying, well, we don't think we have been treated well. That as well will form a major part of our conversation when we return in a moment. So please stay with us. You're welcome back. It's our concluding moment with Honorable Isa Ashiru, who's a PDP governorship candidate in Kaduna State. We have him back, thankfully. So thank you for staying with us, Honorable Ashiru. Let's begin to wind down on this conversation. And I'm still looking at the statement you put out yesterday. And you talked about, by the way, we reported the issues as they happened in the tribunal. And part of your statement said that the tribunal, based on the majority of 2-1 judges, upheld the preliminary objection of the respondent to the effect that the application for pre-hearing was done prematurely. So those were your words. And you went on to say that, well, the law enjoins the tribunal to proceed to pronounce on the merit of the substantive suit, so that in the event of a court of appeal finds that the trial tribunal was wrong in its decision on the preliminary objection, it will have the benefit of pronouncing on the decision of the tribunal in the substantive matter. So those were your words, and you painted the picture. You talked about the timing and the premature nature which the tribunal ruled on, and you talked about the substantive issue which the tribunal also gave its verdict on. For the people of Kaduna State who are not clear on what is going on, they've listened to the governor, now they're listening to you. They've listened to lawyers try to explain this, but there is the issue of governance at stake, the peace of your state at stake. And you've said that this is not about you, but the people. So speak to us, because the governor said that, well, there's a lot of propaganda going on right now. So speak to the people of Kaduna State. You've said you're going on appeal. You also say you're preparing for a supplementary election. What will be your final words to the people of Kaduna State?
Well, as I did on my press release, I want to call on them to continue to be prayerful and remain law-abiding. We will continue, as we have started, to appeal, as I mentioned to you, to make sure that the mandate of our people is returned as per the election of February this year. I want to assure you that our people are law-abiding, and they will continue to be extra patient to make sure that we pursue the return of this mandate to its logical conclusion with all the options that are available, appeal and Supreme Court, depending. If we're lucky to get our seat at appeal level, then the Supreme Court will be left to the other side to decide whether to go or not to go. But inshallah, we'll get our mandate back.
Well, Honorable Isa Ashiru, the PDP governorship candidate in Kaduna State, former lawmaker at the national and state level, thank you so much for speaking with us on politics today. And of course, we're following the developments. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much, Coyote. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. All right, so let's switch gears now and talk APC politics, right? There's disquiet within the party over some appointments made by President Bola Tinubu, which some say has not quite favored core party members. Now, one of the state organs that has spoken up is that of Rivers State. I mean, you understand Rivers politics, how very eventful it can be. So let's speak with the leader of that delegation tonight. We're joined on Politics Today by Mr. Tony Cole, who is the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress in River State, joins us here in our Lagos studio. It's good to have you on the program, Mr. Cole.
Nice to see you again, Kayode.
So it looks like you're not happy with the president's recent appointments, or part of your statement says, I mean, you were upset seeing some of those appointments, and you say that, well, this is not how it ought to be. And a lot of people look at the scenario playing out in River State and they think maybe you were just outplayed by the bigger political heavyweights. Do you see this as you being outplayed, really?
Okay. So you have touched on about 3 different levels. So the first part of it is that within a political structure, you have political parties at the formation of it, of which we have APC members, die-hard core APC members, and their expectation is that when there is a government, and that government is a national government of their party, that they should be beneficiaries of that. That's the first level of it. The second level is what you call the whether one was outplayed or not outplayed, and those are 2 political parties dealing. The president has the prerogative at the end of the day to select whoever he wants to select at the ministerial level. Again, we don't have a problem with that. That is the president's prerogative. But the president is a party member, and being a party member is responsible for the fate of APC across board, at the national and at the state levels. And that is where we are. That's what we're talking about now. APC River State is not just demanding, but also saying that they were there from 2013. They worked throughout this entire period, worked for the president, and requires that they be heard.
You worked more than the PDP in River State.
Absolutely. We were campaigning all the way from, we started September, October, November, December, January, February. We were there on the campaign trail, spending money, doing everything that we had to do. Come on, we did.
Is this fairness then on the part of the president? Do you think he's not being fair to you?
Well, what I think is that when the appointments started coming out, we've had 5 appointments, national appointments. Of the 5 national appointments, what has happened is that all five of them have gone to PDP. All 5 of them have gone to PDP card-carrying members. 4 of them have gone to 1 local government, Obiakpo, and 1 going to Ogobolo. We think that that's enough. If there is a compensation, and let's assume that there is a compensation to be made to PDP for also voting with the APC for the president, I think that's enough.
My question particularly is on fairness, which is, I mean, politicians use that expression, fairness, equity, and justice. Do you think the president has been fair to you? Do you see justice in this? Do you see equity?
I don't think the appointments up until now have been fair. And what I believe is that it's going to be balanced. And that's why we're talking about this. Because it's one thing to start and say, you know what, let me win my political enemies over. Let me bring them on board. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the president's tactics to bring them over. I have no problem with that. But once it's done, there's a point to say, you know what, this is enough. Now let's start looking at those who are part of your family, those who have worked assiduously to make sure that they have kept the party alive and begin to address them. So we expect that the next appointments coming through must go to APC faithful.
So you're still hopeful?
Definitely.
You know, politics is really a game of reward. I mean, we could talk about the governance aspect of it, but at the heart of it is, if you work for me, you get rewarded. And politicians hold that dearly. And I imagine it's on that basis which you're seeking these appointments. But speak particularly then to what the basis upon which you're making these demands, I imagine, in terms of funding. Just how much did you bring to the table for the president in terms of campaigning? Just how much did you do? Because a lot of people will then look at the opposition, or at least the main party in Rivers State, but opposition at the national level, the Rivers PDP, and say, well, the former governor did some work. And he was saying he wanted equity, fairness, and justice. He welcomed the presidential candidate at that time, now president, and he gave a lot. So would you say that you did way more? And tell us specifics.
Absolutely. First, every campaign that we did in the APC, we funded our campaign. The presidential rally that...
The governorship or the presidential campaign?
At present. There was a presidential rally that happened in Rivers State. That campaign was funded. We refused. We told the presidential campaign team that they did not need to bring money, that we will spend our money to that. And I know I spent my money personally on that. The party, Rivers State APC, brought money to that, and we funded that aspect of it. And that's just one of many that we did. So When we talk about equity, let's go back. The foundation of APC, on which platform the president today is president, began in Rivers State. Rivers State was one of those that started. The first rally of APC ever held was held in Port Harcourt in Rivers State. Rivers State has paid a huge price. Rivers State has paid a price in blood. Rivers State APC members have stood there on the ground since 2013, ensuring that APC had a presence in Rivers State. So when we talk about equity, we're bringing this on the table. When we talk about standing against Rivers, you called Rivers State, what was the word you said? It's very eventful. That's the word. And it is eventful, and that's a colorful way of saying it, because it can be very tough, very bloody, and very, very focused, very hot emotions when it comes to Rivers State politics.
So you've gone back in time, and there is no way you can speak about APC in Rivers State without talking about former Governor Rotimi Amici. Is he also a part of this move?
So Rotimi Amici has said one thing very, very clearly, that right now he wants to focus on law, and he's leaving us to do what we have to do. He's not saying anything. He has not come out. He has not said anything against the president. He has not said anything against anything that we have done. You have not heard one word from him. And what he has said is that we have, you ran for office under the APC. You have an APC structure that is there. You are part of APC. Do what you have to do for APC. And that's what he has said. Allow him to finish his own. We are dealing with us, he's dealing with his, and he has not said anything against any of this. And I think we have to respect that aspect of it.
So do you think the fact that he ran against the presidential aspirant at that time, Bola Tinubu, and of course didn't look like he was supporting him, in fact a lot of people said he was supporting the opposition party, do you think that would affect your own campaign now?
I think that what happened there was that the perception of that non-support, especially when he started speaking about a Muslim ticket, and he was not happy about a Muslim ticket, that gave the opening for the PDP to get in Rivers State to say that we're standing here and we're supporting that aspect of it. Because people knew Rotimi Amici to be very, very vocal, and they expected that he would be out there, he's vocal and all of that, but he chose for this time that he is not going to be vocal. And it is that silence that people have read fully to believe that because he's silent on it, he does not support this government, he does not support the president, but he has never said so. He has not come out anywhere to say, I do not support
So you
this.
think he supports his government?
I believe that he supports a government that is fair to Nigerians, and that's what we're pushing.
Because I know that you're close to him,
That's
and
right.
of course you will have his ears, understand his thought process and all of that. But when you talk about the people who've been appointed in Rivers State, they're sons and daughters of Rivers State, aren't they?
Absolutely. Hey, listen, sons and daughters of Rivers State, I don't have a problem with.
Are they competent?
I don't know that.
So you question their competence?
I don't know. That I haven't looked at. What I do know is this. Are you allowed to appoint people from PDP in a government? No problem with that. Again, understand the semantics. I don't have a problem if that's what's going on. What I have a problem with is that everybody that has been appointed only from one side, and there's no balance on the other side. That's one. The second aspect of it is, of the people who were appointed, 4 of them are appointed from one local government. 4 from one local government. Again, there's no balance there. And these things play a huge part in Rivers State politics. To the Nigerian looking outside, this may not seem, as far as they're concerned, it's Rivers State. The nuances of those appointments in Rivers State is where the problem is, and we need to correct that.
So I'd like to also know, did the president make any sort of promise to you? Did he make commitments to Rivers APC, particularly now, before the elections? Because we know that's how it works in politics. Okay, so this is what you will get. Did he make any of such promises or commitments?
I wouldn't say that there was a direct commitment and direct policy. What the president had said to me and said to all of us in APC is, come together, work together, stand as one, and you have the better chance of winning. And remember that this was what we started doing. Magnus Abbey stepped out, went to SDP, and that gave us, it became less cantankerous for us so that we could stay focused on what we were doing. And with that, we stayed focused. Once that happened, we stayed focused. It would have gladly pleased all of us to come together with Magnus, everybody together to fight as one. But he chose to move on, and that was okay. So for the president, I know for one thing that one point that he kept pushing is that we need to build an APC that is united, that is strong, and that can stand the test of time. And that, for me, was what we did.
You know, the president has been described as a politician of politicians, and a lot of people trace his history all the way back to when he was governor, how he's been able to build people. So if you're trying to place politicians, they say who rank at the very top. But why do you think then he would look at the APC in Rivers State, overlook you, then go to the PDP in Rivers State to pick from? Why would he make such decision if it were not a right decision to make?
Well, I wouldn't say, I don't know if it's a right or wrong decision. What I believe at the time when we were hot in the battle of politics for the president to win, there were three things that were at stake. The first aspect of it, remember, was that there was a G5. Weaken PDP. Ensure that this G5 do not go back to PDP at any point in time. That's a political calculation. And again, we have no problem with that calculation. Bring them on. Stop them from going to PDP. That's number one. Number two, Rivers State money has always been very central in politics. So if you are going to ensure that the money does not go to PDP and will come into APC, again, bring them, draw them close. Again, that's political. And I don't have a problem with that at all, if that's what's going to work. Now, what then happened was that PDP votes and APC votes came together to deliver the president. And again, that's okay. That's astute politics. And the President and I have spoken about this. We don't have a problem with the politics of that move. What do we want to do? We want to win. If it's going to mean take votes away from PDP, bring votes from APC, put all together and deliver, no problem. Now, when that is done, for one group to then say that we are the only ones that delivered, that is where I have a problem. And that is not true.
So, don't you think he values the PDP clearly more than you?
Maybe he's not being, maybe he has not heard what we have to say. And that's why we're saying what we must say. At the end of the day, there's a difference between when you're a presidential candidate, when you are the president-elect, and when you become the president. The circles around you become tighter. The access becomes more limited. Right now, we need to make sure that the voices of the people in APC at the grassroots is heard. They have paid their dues for this party, and they deserve to also be rewarded in a political system that rewards loyalty.
I hope that the people of Rivers State are being factored into all of this conversation, and it's not just politics, because for the people out there, I mean, politics can be played, but the dividends of democracy must be delivered. So talk to us about what you then want, what you're trying to bargain with the president. So do you want the president, for example, to remove the Minister of FCT, or his spokesperson, who I understand is also from Rivers State? What exactly do you want? Do you want him to remove them, or what? Are you looking at specific appointments?
Absolutely not. He's already made those appointments. We have no problem with that. Leave those appointments. Subsequent appointments coming in balance the equation. Now, balance the equation in such a way that, you mentioned it, once the dividends begin to come down, it goes down to people who are part and parcel of not just the politics, but also those who follow the politics, the people who need to be seen and heard. Rivers State must take a frontal point in issues of national government, and those who are appointed, who speak for the people, must be there. Today, we only have one part of Rivers State being spoken for. It cannot continue.
But there are those who have said that you've also been approached to drop your case at the tribunal.
No, rubbish. My case has finished. Okay.
And judgment has been reserved.
No, judgment has been reserved. Yes. So where was the case dropped?
So how do you expect that to play out? Because you're in court, obviously, against an ally of the president.
That's democracy. I have my right. I do not agree in the first instance that the governor is the governor today, and so I have taken my case to the judiciary. Now we'll wait to hear what the judiciary has to say. This has nothing to do with whether the president is my friend, not my friend, whether he's weakest friend, not weakest friend. This is democracy at play. We went to the polls, the results came out. One was happy, the other was not happy. That's what we have the courts for. We've gone to the courts and we've battled it all the way to waiting for judgment.
It's very interesting what is playing out here. Yes. And I wonder how you're able or how you hope to navigate your way, because some say, well, you may be outplayed in this one, and they say it's evident from the appointments that we've seen, because clearly now you seem to be an enemy to the ally of the president. And naturally, an enemy of your ally will be your enemy.
Okay, so think about this way. What's democracy and what's politics about? Right? Politics at the end of the day is about
interests. Or has it changed?
No, absolutely not. So it's about interest. What we're dealing with right now, for me specifically, is that my interest is in winning the gubernatorial. That doesn't make me an enemy of the president. Neither does it make me an enemy of the minister. It doesn't make me his enemy. What it just makes me is that I am I'm an opponent, a worthwhile opponent that at the end of the day is fighting for his right. And that brings respect. I would respect him for trying to outwit me. He will respect me for trying to outwit him. At the end of the day, when all the dust is settled, we'll sit down and we'll take a look at it and we'll move on.
But it looks like your interests are clashing, because I imagine the interest of the president is to reward those who worked for him. And he has shown that.
No problem.
But then you're in court hoping to take away at least one of those rewards, because we've heard the former governor of Rivers State say, well, leave Rivers for us. Let us hold on to Rivers. Let the PDP continue in Rivers. But you want to take that away.
But that's not his right. That's the right of the people. There's nobody that can give you that right. It's the people that gives the right. The right that the president has, or the right that the former minister has, is to lobby or ask for a position like the FCT minister. No problem. That's a lobby. That's the right and prerogative of the president. There's nobody who has the right or prerogative to give a state to anybody. It's the people. And if the people feel that their voices were not heard, and that an election was stolen from them, then it becomes my duty to ensure that I secure that. This has nothing to do with enmity. It has everything to do with securing justice, and that's what I'm aiming for.
So what do you expect from the tribunal?
I expect, frankly, that the tribunal should declare me winner. And why? The reason is this. The governor now, right, did not resign as accountant general. He flouted the Electoral Act, flouted the Constitution, and as a result of that, we are declaring that his election is null and void. That's a simple ground. It's a straightforward Constitutional Electoral Act ground. Now it's up to the judges to either see merit with this or not. But not in the case of, they beat somebody up, they rigged an election.
But isn't that a pre-election issue?
No, it's not. It's a constitutional issue.
Because it talks about his eligibility, I imagine.
Yes, it does. But it is, and there are certain areas that go beyond pre-election. This is somebody who contested against me. And this is the time when I have a right to question that. It's the only time. If I try to question it during the pre-election, they would have thrown it out that I don't have locals. I'm not a party member. This is not my party. That's for them to decide. This is totally different. The only time when I have the right to question it is now. Is why with what the president and President Atiku, what they were, the
former vice president.
Former vice president, were trying to, that's why he is trying to query some things which have been, maybe time will go out, he's in appeal trying to look for that. The only time you can question that is in the tribunal, and that's what we have done.
So what if all of your agitations, what if they fall through? What if you don't get those appointments you're seeking for the people of Rivers State, APC Rivers State? Would you be disappointed in the president?
Absolutely. I'll be very disappointed, because what that means is that nobody has cared about the sweat, the sacrifice, the money, the investment for the last 9 years, 10 years. It's not a joke.
I'd like us to touch on an issue of governance which concerns Nigerians. I mean, you know the oil and gas industry too well, very well established in that industry. And I wonder what your take is on the current subsidy regime. Some say subsidy is actually back. or never went in the first place for Mr. Bismarck Rawani. It's reduced subsidy. So it's still there, really. And they look at the price of crude. These are figures you are very well aware of, the price of crude, the exchange rate. In fact, they look at diesel and say diesel is going up. They look at gas as well. So what is your take on this? Do you think the president is approaching this well? And is this what we should be seeing from that sector with the policy direction of this government?
Subsidy would always be a touchy issue. When petroleum prices, crude prices are low, right, then the effect of subsidy is very minimal. You don't see it and all of that. The reason why it is crazy right now is because oil prices are inching closer and closer to 100, and so it will be a problem. Now, with all things, when you deal with issues of subsidy, it's not just the price of petrol that matters. It's not just the price of diesel that matters. There are other considerations that you must bring into play, and if you don't bring those conditions into play, you would have a problem. It's a long-term thing. It's something that must be dealt with over and over again. Did we have the means and the resources to continue to keep subsidy alive the way it was being run? Absolutely not.
But it's still alive.
So what happens right now is that every government will come to a point where they will say, hang on, what are we doing and where are we going? And I think that's where this government has come to again. At 90, heading to $100, the question is, how far do we go? Is there a cap? What do we do? But there must be a structure and mechanism that enables it to be taken off again once the price starts going back. If it's not back in, then it's the government saying that I'm willing to listen to the cries of the people and I don't want it to rise higher than this. But once the price starts coming down again, they have to take it off. But that is only the ups and downs. You have to deal with productivity. You have to deal with pressure on the dollar, which means that you have to increase exports in other areas. And if there's one area that the government must increase exports in and look at, is controlling the mining sector. We're losing too much in mining. Illegal mining is going on. People are taking hundreds of millions out of the country. That's where we should be looking at.
Final notes. In governance, communication is important. Transparency, accountability, those are core for democracy. Do you think government should then come out and say, well, this is what we're doing with subsidy? Because the government has been quiet and people are saying, we know what is happening. Why don't you come out and talk to us?
I agree with you on that. Communication is key. They need to.
It's been a very interesting conversation with you, but we have to anchor at this time. Mr. Tony Cole, the governorship candidate of the APC in Rivers State, thank you so much for your time. We're watching the Tribunal to see what comes out of that.
Next week is the big week.
Or do you have a date now?
No, the 10th of October is when it ends.
So it terminates.
Everybody runs out of time then. So we're expecting next week that we would hear something.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kayode.
So that's been the program for tonight, everyone. Thank you for watching. I am Kayode Okikelu. Have a wonderful weekend. Goodbye.